Next, we will move into reporting procedures, best practices, and recommendations. We'll begin by creating our own custom report type. To do so, we're going to navigate into the setup. Off to the left, search for report types and select. Once you're at this screen, select new custom report type. We will begin by selecting our primary object we look to leverage. In this case, we are going to be leveraging the load object. Give it a description. Store it in the applicable category. And do not forget to hit deployed on your way out. Otherwise, you will not be able to leverage this report once you're done. In the next screen, we are going to connect the dots, if you will. By starting with the loads, we are going to add the freight plan loads object. It's important to note these items right here, as the first one will indicate that each load must be associated with a freight plan. And the second item says each load may or may not be associated with a freight plan. It is my recommendation that you always use the may or may not option and leverage your filtering capabilities to cut out items you do not want to see. Once you've identified your two objects, go ahead and hit save. We can see we have the loads object here, and we have the freight plan loads object there. Below, we can see the amount of fields that we are working with. The reason why we start with the loads and not just go into freight plan loads is that, as you can see with the freight plan loads object, we're only working with 12 fields applicable, whereas in the loads object, we have 224. Now we're going to go ahead and create a report out of the custom template that we just created. We'll do so by selecting new report and searching for the all underneath the recently used. Search for the name of the report that you just created and go ahead and hit start report. Now from here, because we selected when we were connecting the objects may or may not, what we are seeing here are all loads in the system. For this case, we're just looking at freight plan loads. So we're going to go into our filters and establish cutting out what we do not want to see. So first, we will start with in freight plan. We will select this, and freight plan equals true, and apply. Next, we're going to call out the created date on the freight plan itself. You can always have your calendar dates, or you can use a relative date. The relative date allows you to use phrases and allows the system to pick up what it is you're trying to say. In this case, I'm just going to say the created date equals today. Next, let's go to our outline and add some columns. I'll first begin by adding the carrier load and customer load identifiers. These are checkboxes that call out what load type you're looking at. Next, we will add the customer account name, the carrier account name. We'll add the city lane for a visual and place some financials. So now to make sense of all of this in a visual that reads similar to the way the freight plan reads is going to be our grouping procedures. We are going to group these load numbers by the freight plan name. So we can see with freight plan 12, for example, we have 3 load numbers that make up freight plan 12. Load 66, 68, and 74. Our identifiers allow us to call out what these items are. For example, L66 is the customer load in this freight plan. 68 and 74 are both carrier loads. Note that the customer load checkbox is not identified on carrier loads in a freight plan. This is important for reporting procedures because if you wanted to identify customer load volume, you would need to leverage the filter of customer load equals true, which as you can see here, will cut out those carrier loads. In this column, we can see our customer account name, carrier account names, the city lanes for those applicable movements, our carrier quote total, our customer quote total, and our quoted margins.